Every invention begins with a spark, an idea that reshapes the world.
Electricity lit our nights.
The telephone carried our voices across oceans.
We flew through the skies and then landed on the moon.
Today, machines learn, adapt, and create.
But how did we arrive here, and where are we headed? From steam engines to artificial intelligence, this is the journey of technological evolution. This timeline focuses on major turning points in the evolution of technology, but it's not meant to be an exhaustive list. Countless innovations have shaped our world, and while I've done my best to include the most pivotal ones, some may have been left out. That's not by neglect, just the reality of curating a massive story into one timeline. I also added my own spin to this timeline, bringing in my perspective as a tech YouTuber and lifelong enthusiast. Some of these moments aren't just milestones in history, they're milestones in my own journey with technology. From the rise of artificial intelligence to gadgets that changed how we live, I've highlighted the innovations that didn't just move the industry forward, they shaped how we experience the world today. 1858. Completion of the first successful transatlantic telegraph cable. This achievement enables near-instantaneous communication between Europe and North America, revolutionizing global interactions. 1876. Alexander Graham Bell invents the telephone. Bell's invention fundamentally transforms global communication by allowing instantaneous voice conversations across vast distances. Now, let's listen to a very special recording preserved by the Smithsonian. It is the earliest known recording of Alexander Graham Bell's voice, dating back to 1885. You can clearly hear him say his name.
You are my heart, Alexander Graham Bell.
1870s. The Second Industrial Revolution begins, driven by advancements in steel production, electricity, and petroleum technologies. Mass production methods, improved transportation, and widespread electrification rapidly transform society, paving the way for modern industries and global economic growth. 1886. Carl Benz invents the first modern automobile. His gas-powered Benz patent motor wagon becomes the world's first practical car, a symbol of mobility and innovation during the industrial age. 1903. The Wright brothers achieved the first powered flight. Their airplane, the Wright Flyer, successfully stays airborne for 12 seconds and covers 120 feet, marking the beginning of the aviation age. 1913. Stainless steel is developed. Harry Brearley of Sheffield, England, discovers a corrosion-resistant steel alloy, later known as stainless steel. This innovation revolutionizes industries by providing a durable, rust-resistant material. 1913. Henry Ford introduces the moving assembly line for automobile production. This innovation drastically reduces manufacturing time and cost, making cars affordable for the masses and reshaping industrial production globally. 1913 again, the zipper simplifies clothing design. Invented by Gideon Sunback, it revolutionizes fashion, bags, and accessories. Its practicality soon replaces buttons in millions of garments. 1926. John Logie Baird demonstrates the first television. He showcases the first working mechanical television system in London. Though soon replaced by electronic versions, Baird's invention marks the beginning of visual broadcasting. Now let us go back in time to witness a true pioneer of innovation. 12 years after his breakthrough, John Logie Baird himself demonstrates and describes the very first television system he created.
With these pictures of the original television apparatus now in the South Kensington Museum, we introduce Mr. John Baird, the inventor.
It is now 12 years since this apparatus showed the transmission of outline images to the public for the first time. This is the scanning disc with its lenses. This is the second disc by which the light is further divided and passes into the light cell. This apparatus was shown to members of the Royal Institution and others on January 27, 1926.
And in 1927, Philo Farnsworth invents the modern electronic television. He transmits the first electronic image using a cathode ray tube. This becomes the basis for all television systems used today.
It is said to be responsible for the most clearly defined television pictures. Placed in the circuit of this receiving system is a funnel-shaped cathode tube. The round, flat surface of its bulb becomes the picture screen in studio monitor sets, as well as in home receiving sets. The image dissector tube and the cathode oscillite tube are the heart and brain of the Farnsworth system.
1926, rocketry takes off. Robert Goddard launches the first liquid-fueled rocket. This foundational moment paves the way for space exploration. 1928, Alexander Fleming discovers penicillin. This groundbreaking antibiotic discovery significantly reduces deaths caused by bacterial infections, revolutionizing modern medicine. 1930s, jet engine technology is born. Frank Whittle and Hans von Ohain independently developed jet propulsion. This breakthrough powers modern aviation and reshapes warfare and travel. 1940s. Electronic computers emerge. ENIAC and Colossus are created to perform complex calculations during World War II. They mark the birth of programmable digital computing. Before ENIAC, there was Colossus, built in total secrecy at Britain's Bletchley Park in 1944. Designed by engineer Tommy Flowers, it became the world's first programmable electronic digital computer, used to break German codes in World War II. Then in 1946, ENIAC marked a new era. Created by John Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert, it was the world's first general-purpose electronic computer, but ENIAC didn't run on its own. It was 6 women who programmed it from scratch. They had no manuals, no languages, just logic, cables, and determination. Now, let's hear directly from Jean Bartik herself, one of these women as she reflects on those early days.
This announcement came around that they were looking for operators of new machine they were building called the ENIAC. Goldstein invited Betty and me out to his and his wife, Adele was there, to his apartment, and he asked us if the ENIAC, if the trajectory was ready to go, and if they could use it as a demonstration for the announcement on the 15th. Well, Betty and I were pretty sure it was perfect. So we said, you bet. When they ran the trajectory for the demonstration, the trajectory that they ran took 30 seconds for the shell to trace it, but the ENIAC did the calculations in 20 seconds. The people that were sitting there could see the numbers build up as the shell reached the altitude and then came down and hit the ground. So, I mean, they were absolutely ecstatic.
1945. The Trinity test. The moment humanity split the atom, July 16, 1945, 5:29 a.m. In the Jornada del Muerto desert near Alamogordo, New Mexico, a blinding flash lit up the early morning sky. This was Trinity, the world's first nuclear explosion. The test was part of the Manhattan Project, a top-secret operation involving over 130,000 people, including the sharpest minds in science. The actual bomb, nicknamed the Gadget, was developed at Los Alamos under the guidance of physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. Their mission wasn't just to understand the atom, but to weaponize it. The explosion released energy equal to 20,000 tons of TNT, turning sand into glass and unleashing heat hotter than the sun. A massive mushroom cloud soared over 7.5 miles into the sky, while stunned observers stood in silence, not by command, but from sheer awe.
The flash was later calculated to be brighter than 1,000 suns. Miles away, a young girl, blind from birth, saw the flash. Men at the site felt the heat of a desert sun. Then came the shockwave. 2 GIs at the command center stood up in their excitement at seeing the boiling cloud and were knocked to the ground. The roar followed, a cascading thunderclap that rolled and boomed out across the desert.
1945. The microwave oven is invented by accident. While working on radar systems, engineer Percy Spencer notices a chocolate bar in his pocket melts unexpectedly near an active magnetron. This chance observation leads him to experiment further, eventually inventing the world's first microwave oven, a breakthrough that would transform kitchens forever. 1947. Bell Labs invents the transistor. Transistors drastically reduce the size and cost of electronics, paving the way for computers, radios, and virtually all modern electronic devices. 1950. Alan Turing's visionary question. In 1950, British mathematician Alan Turing published his seminal paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, in the journal Mind. In this work, Turing posed the provocative question, can machines think? To explore this, he introduced what is now known as the Turing test, a method to assess a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human.
ChatGPT passed the Turing test.
6 years later, in the summer of 1956, the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence convened at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. Organized by John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Claude Shannon, and Nathaniel Rochester, this conference is widely recognized as the founding event of artificial intelligence as a formal field of study. It was here that the term artificial intelligence was first coined, setting the stage for decades of research and development in the field. 1956, the year the very idea of artificial intelligence was officially born. The Dartmouth Conference laid the groundwork, and from that point on, scientists began exploring how machines could simulate human thinking. We'll come back to AI later in this timeline, because I believe it will prove to be the greatest invention in human history.
In my opinion, the biggest invention in human history right now, and it's going to be the precursor to AI.
But before we move forward, we need to ask a simple question. What exactly is AI? Here's what it means on the Adam and Nart Show.
Artificial intelligence can be defined as the theory and development of computer systems that are able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. So artificial intelligence is a broad term, and people seem to confuse artificial intelligence with other buzzwords like machine learning and things like deep learning and AGI, but they don't understand what these things are. Artificial intelligence is the general term that encompasses all of these things. Machine learning is a subset of AI, and machine learning employs algorithms, and these algorithms help the computer learn and make decisions. And an algorithm is simply a process that follows a rule. If you know, the word algorithm comes from the Arabic word Khawarizmiyat, which from the Muslim scientist Khawarizmi. Yes, that's the word algorithm, which is a set of rules that a computer follows to perform a certain calculation or problem solving by the computer. So machine learning also has subsets. There's neural networks, which is deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which relies on neural networks. Machine learning can also be divided into other categories. For example, you have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and human reinforcement learning, or reinforcement learning. Different AI systems employ different machine learning systems. So we have now systems like ChatGPT, which use reinforcement learning.
1957. The Soviet Union launches Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. Sputnik 1's success initiates the space age and triggers the fierce competition known as the space race between global superpowers.
Весь мир был поражен успехами советской науки и техники.
1958. The integrated circuit is invented. In 1958, Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments created the world's first working integrated circuit, combining multiple electronic components onto a single chip. A year later, Robert Noyce at Fairchild Semiconductor developed a version that allowed for mass production. This invention became the foundation of modern electronics, enabling everything from personal computers to smartphones and space technology. 1960. The laser is invented. Theodore Maiman operates the first functional laser, emitting a concentrated beam of light. This technology finds applications across various fields, including medicine, communications, and manufacturing.
You are now looking at the original, the first laser. It used a synthetic ruby as the lasing material. It now rests as a memento on the desk of Dr. Theodore H. Maiman, the man who developed the first working laser and opened the door on a future of incredible possibilities.
And now, let's witness a rare moment in history. You're about to see a short clip of Dr. Theodore H. Maiman, the man who built the world's first laser. Maiman earned his PhD in physics at Stanford University in 1955, and by May 16, 1960, at Hughes Research Laboratories in Malibu, California, he successfully operated the first laser using a synthetic ruby crystal. This invention would go on to revolutionize fields like medicine, communication, manufacturing, and science itself.
I'm sure to an extent this is taken for granted, and at one time there was some question about whether a laser could indeed be made. This was something new. It hadn't been done before. And I have to add that in addition to all of the rumblings and stirrings about let's make a laser, let's make coherent radiation in the infrared or optical part of the spectrum, there were some scientists who were coming up with ideas and arguments on why this was either fundamentally impossible, respected scientists, so it was not to be ignored, or practically impossible. The momentum built up and the race, the excitement. I guess there was another ingredient that I had, or I guess I still do, and that is a pretty competitive nature. And this really sounded like an exciting game to be in. And it really got pretty exciting. I was working at Hughes Research Labs at the time, and Hughes decided that Ruby isn't supposed to work, so let's disband that and go work on something else. I didn't really think that the Ruby would work as a laser at first. That my purpose was to use it as a model to study and to develop some concepts. But I was a little bit farther along, and I got to the point where I thought that, yes, tough, but I thought I could make it go, so I was pretty stubborn about hanging in there. There was so much pressure on developing something that would work, and I was working on something which, company I worked for, my bosses, and the outside community said was not feasible. If I pushed it at all, I was only going to do it if it was going to work. And the calculations showed that it was marginal. It would just barely do it. Or maybe it's fundamentally, you can't make a laser. Again, you take it for granted you can make a laser, but it was not, believe me, that clear.
Incredible. It's surreal to hear the inventor himself talk about the doubts, the pressure, and the sheer determination behind one of the most important inventions of the 20th century. What we now take for granted, lasers in medicine, communication, manufacturing, all began with that moment of stubborn belief and a flash of ruby light. 1961. Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human in space. On April 12th, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin boards Vostok 1, launching into the unknown. He completes one full orbit around Earth in just 108 minutes, reaching a maximum altitude of 327 kilometers and speeds over 27,000 kilometers per hour. For the first time in history, a human had left Earth, looked down at the planet from space, and returned safely.
Great success in space when the Russians pushed a man across the threshold.
This moment wasn't just a Soviet victory, it marked the beginning of human space exploration. It inspired generations, ignited the space race, and proved that reaching beyond our world was no longer science fiction. It was real. 1969. Apollo 11 lands the first humans on the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's lunar landing symbolizes humanity's greatest space exploration achievement to date, fulfilling President Kennedy's historic challenge. Now let's hear the mesmerizing words of Neil Armstrong as he took that historic first step.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It has a stark beauty all its own. It's like much of the high desert of the United States. It's different, but it's very pretty out here. Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
Wow, what a view!
1971. The microprocessor is born. Intel 4004 changes computing forever. In 1971, Intel unveiled the 4004, the world's first commercially available microprocessor. This tiny chip packed the computing power of an entire circuit board into a single integrated unit, capable of performing thousands of operations per second. It was originally developed for a Japanese calculator company, but its potential reached far beyond that. The 4004 laid the groundwork for the personal computer revolution, transforming how we live, work, and interact with technology. 1971, email transforms communication. Ray Tomlinson develops the first networked email system, introducing the use of the @ symbol to designate addresses. This innovation revolutionizes personal and professional correspondence. His system ran on ARPANET, a government research network launched in 1969, designed to connect distant computers. What began as a military project quietly laid the groundwork for what we now call the Internet.
That killer app was email.
I was actually working on a mail program, but it was programmed for a single computer so that you could send messages from yourself to another user on the same time-sharing computer. And I had written a couple of programs to transfer files, and it occurred to me that since the mailbox that I was sending these messages to was nothing more than a file, I could send that file across the network instead of keeping it within the same machine. And so I put two programs together, modified the code a little bit, and the first email program was created.
1972. Pong marks the birth of the video game industry. Atari releases Pong, a simple table tennis-style arcade game that becomes a massive commercial hit. It captivates the public, fills arcades, and proves that interactive digital entertainment can be profitable, officially kickstarting the video game industry.
1973. Martin Cooper invents the first handheld mobile phone. This innovation transforms telecommunications by allowing portable personal communication anywhere, sparking the age of mobile phones.
This is an exact model of the very first cell phone. There were only two phones in existence at that time. The biggest issue in that first call, we didn't know it was going to be historic in any way at all. We were only worried about one thing. Is the phone going to work when we turn it on? Fortunately, it did.
1973, GPS is born, a military tool to guide from the sky. The U.S. Department of Defense launches a classified project to build a satellite-based navigation system. Its purpose? To give American forces pinpoint accuracy anywhere on Earth, on land, in air, or at sea. February 22, 1978. The first GPS satellite, Navstar 1, is launched. It rides into orbit aboard an Atlas rocket. Over the next 7 years, 10 more satellites join it in space. Only Navstar 7 fails to launch. These early Block 1 satellites validate the system. They prove that by using signals from space, we could locate anything or anyone on Earth. Each satellite broadcasts a radio signal carrying its exact location and time. Your device receives signals from at least 4 of them, and by calculating how long each one took to arrive, it knows exactly where you are. This process is called trilateration. Without satellites syncing time using atomic clocks, accurate down to billionths of a second, GPS wouldn't work. Even Einstein's theory of relativity has to be factored in. If not, GPS would drift 10 kilometers per day. 1983. Tragedy opens the system to the world. After a Korean passenger jet is shot down for straying into Soviet airspace, President Ronald Reagan announces GPS will one day be made available for civilian use. to prevent such errors from ever happening again. But the signal was intentionally degraded, only accurate to about 100 meters for civilians. 1995 GPS becomes fully operational. A complete 24 satellite constellation is now in orbit. This ensures global 24/7 coverage, with at least 4 satellites visible from anywhere on Earth at all times. May 1st, 2000 GPS is unlocked. No restrictions, global precision. President Bill Clinton signs an executive order to end signal scrambling, giving the public full access to high-precision GPS. Suddenly, your phone knows exactly where you are within a few meters. Today, GPS powers aviation, agriculture, shipping, search and rescue, delivery apps, ride shares, and even drones. It's one of the most impactful tools ever created. And it started as a military tool built in silence. But the United States isn't the only country with its own satellite navigation system. Other global powers have built their own independent systems too, like Russia's GLONASS, China's Beidou, the EU's Galileo, Japan's QZSS, and India's NavIC. What you're seeing here is a visual representation from 2017, showing the constellation layouts at that time. Since then, most of these systems have expanded and improved even further. 1975, Altair 8800, the dawn of personal computing. In January of 1975, the Altair 8800 made its debut on the cover of Popular Electronics magazine. Built around the Intel 8080 microprocessor, it was the first personal computer powerful enough to spark real excitement among tech enthusiasts. It didn't have a screen or keyboard, just switches and blinking lights, but it was revolutionary. It even inspired Bill Gates and Paul Allen to write software for it, planting the seed for what would become Microsoft.
Interest. I mean, the idea of a kit computer, even though there was really nothing you could do with it. I mean, there's no teletype hookup in the early days. There's no software for it. All you could do is use these switches, actually use them here, and key things into this front panel, and maybe do a little program that does things in the lights. Now, eventually, we did get controllers for teletypes and cassette tapes and floppy disks, that kind of thing. But in the early days, it's pretty useless. People just bought it thinking that it would be neat to build a computer. Of course, the simulator, it's very slow because you go through lots of instructions to a single instruction. So actually, the real machine, even though it's such a simple little microprocessor, was faster than our PDP-10 simulator, about 5 times faster a little later. Anyway, so it came up, said ready, and he typed in a program. Print 2 plus 2, it worked. He had it print out squares and sums and things like that. And he and Ed Roberts, the head of this company, sat there, and they were amazed by that this thing worked. I mean, Paul was amazed that our part had worked, and Ed was amazed that his hardware worked, and that here it was doing something even useful.
1976, the Apple I, born in a garage. In 1976, 2 young visionaries, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, introduced the Apple I. Built in a garage, it was just a motherboard sold to hobbyists. No case, no screen, no keyboard. But it was the seed of a tech empire, and it launched the story of Apple.
I built this whole board myself because I wanted the chips in the ultimate perfect position. I worked for a couple of weeks every night till about 4 in the morning, laying out the little things on a big drafting table that would eventually become this board. And when I got done, I realized I had to drill 8 holes in the board. And I said, you know what? If I had only designed it a little bit differently, then I would have only had 5 holes. I tore apart my entire design, and for another 2 weeks, every night till 4 in the morning, to get it just that perfect with only 5 holes, so you would never see the 3 missing. It had to be that artistically perfect to me, because it represents yourself when you do a great design.
Over here, we've got the very first computer we ever built, long before we even started a company, and I hand wired the entire bottom, soldered it all together. That was an Apple I, the first Apple I computer ever.
Does it get boring to tell a story?
Never.
Never gets boring?
Never. It's in my heart. Those were the most incredible times.
It's pretty cool seeing Woz talk about the Apple I like that. You can really tell how much pride he took in building it. It wasn't just about starting a company. It was about getting every little detail right. Just pure passion for the craft. In 1977, they launched the Apple II, a complete ready-to-use personal computer with color graphics and expandability. The Apple II wasn't just successful, it became a cultural icon and helped bring computers into schools and homes across America. 1977. The first MRI scan. For the first time in history, doctors could see inside the human body in extraordinary detail, without surgery, without radiation. This was the birth of MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. The journey began earlier, in the early 1970s, when Dr. Raymond Damadian discovered that magnetic signals could be used to tell healthy tissue apart from cancer. But it was Paul Lauterbur and Peter Mansfield who developed the techniques to turn that principle into actual images. In 1977, the first full-body MRI scan was performed, a moment that changed diagnostic medicine forever. Today, MRIs are routine, but in that moment, they marked a revolution. It was the first time technology gave us a clear window into the body, painlessly and safely. This wasn't just a medical breakthrough. It was a turning point in how we see the human body, through data, magnetism, and precision.
It's the brainchild of Dr. Peter Mansfield of Nottingham University, developed specifically to subject living material to intense magnetic forces. And the reason? A dramatic new way of seeing inside living matter without using X-rays. 3 years ago, using smaller magnets, Dr. Mansfield managed to take a picture across the inside of a finger. Now he's constructed this monster magnet, big enough for him to build up pictures anywhere inside the human body. The guinea pig for the first test was Dr. Mansfield himself. This band will pick up signals from inside his body. His technique depends on two facts: that our bodies are made up mostly of water, and that water molecules react when subjected to a strong magnetic field. Though this looks very cumbersome, remember it is an experimental machine designed primarily to produce a concentrated high magnetic field. There's just enough room for a man to get in.
Right. In new experiments of this type, one can never be 100% sure that there won't be any adverse effects. The worst thing that could have happened would be a cardiac arrest, so that when the button was pressed, I would have either had an immediate cardiac arrest. If that didn't happen, then I was fairly certain that things were okay.
What you just saw wasn't just a test. It was history in motion. Dr. Peter Mansfield didn't just build a machine. He stepped into it himself, knowing the risks, because he believed in what it could unlock. That first image of his own body, made entirely from magnetic fields and water molecules, marked the beginning of a new era in medicine. An era where we could see the invisible, safely, clearly, and without radiation.
At the target area, there's a smaller, separate magnetic field, which is used as a three-dimensional grid, allowing minute areas of tissue to be pinpointed exactly. A probe at the side of the body radiates another small magnetic field. This excites the water molecules. The chest band receiver will pick up these minute signals. A computer then processes these signals, slowly building up a picture. When complete, it's displayed on a screen. This is the very first picture of a human body taken this way anywhere in the world. A cross-section through Dr. Mansfield shows the different concentrations of water at the level of his stomach. The brown shape at the top right-hand corner is his liver. Down at the bottom is the spinal cord. Now, doctors will have to learn to look at the body in a completely new way. Unlike X-rays, both the bone and the soft tissues can be seen clearly.
1981, IBM 5150, setting the PC standard. On August 12, 1981, IBM entered the personal computer race with the IBM 5150, powered by the Intel 8088 processor and running MS-DOS, an operating system provided by Microsoft. The IBM PC embraced open architecture. This meant third-party developers could build compatible software and hardware, rapidly growing an entire ecosystem. The IBM PC didn't just compete, it set the standard, and with Microsoft's MS-DOS at its core, the stage was set for the software giant's rise. 1983, Nintendo revives the gaming industry. After the video game market crash in North America, caused by poor quality games and market oversaturation, the industry was on the verge of collapse. That same year, Nintendo releases the Famicom in Japan, a sleek home console that focused on quality titles, tight control, and fun gameplay. When it launched later in North America as the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, it became a cultural phenomenon and introduced timeless characters like Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Zelda to homes around the world. This marked the rebirth of console gaming, ushering in a new golden age that would shape generations. Super Mario Bros. Launched not just a game, but an entire legacy. What started as a pixelated plumber hopping over Goombas quickly turned into a global phenomenon. From the Famicom to the NES, Mario made the leap, and he never looked back. He ran through 8-bit lands, soared through 16-bit dreams, raced through 3D worlds, and even explored galaxies. Each game redefined its generation, pushing the limits of what was possible in both gameplay and hardware. Whether it was the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii, Wii U, or Nintendo Switch, Mario kept evolving. From Super Mario Bros. To Super Mario World, 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, Odyssey, and now Wonder as of the date of this video, every title became a milestone in gaming history. 1984, the Macintosh, a revolution in simplicity. On January 24, 1984, Steve Jobs stood on stage and introduced the world to the Macintosh.
All of the images you are about to see on the large screen will be generated by what's in that bag. Now, we've done a lot of talking about Macintosh recently, but today, for the first time ever, I'd like to let Macintosh speak for itself.
Hello, I am Macintosh. It sure is great to get out of that bag. And accustomed as I am.
It wasn't just another computer. It was friendly, approachable, and personal. With a graphical user interface, mouse, and a clean design, it reimagined how we interacted with machines. It smiled. It said, "Hello." And in that moment, personal computing changed forever.
Introducing Macintosh. It does all the things you'd expect a business computer to do. It does a lot of things you wouldn't expect a business computer to do. And it does some things no other business computer has ever done before. Of course, to do all this, you will have to learn to do this. Macintosh from Apple.
1991, the World Wide Web goes public. Tim Berners-Lee, working at CERN, launches the first ever website, info.cern.ch, opening the doors to what we now call the Internet. This wasn't just a new way to access information, this was the birth of the digital age. The Internet would go on to revolutionize everything, from entertainment to education, communication to commerce, navigation to news. We rely on it for everything. Just imagine yourself without Internet for a few days. No messaging, no maps, no videos, no work. That's how deeply it has embedded itself into our lives. What began as a scientific experiment has become the backbone of the modern world, a force so powerful that life without it feels unimaginable.
You're in an African village and you don't have a web browser. No, you can't do that. You can start a company and then it isn't until a long time later you realize that somebody else has done it somewhere else. There's lots, but lots of little things we do to do with health, to do with just keeping a family together, communicating with friends. So the difference in power between somebody's got the internet, somebody hasn't, is now huge. Also really important for democracy. If you are not connected to the internet, how is your voice going to be heard? How are you going to make sure that the values which you think are important are being represented by all the governments out there?
1991, a hobby project that changed the world. In August of 1991, a Finnish student named Linus Torvalds made a quiet post on an online forum. He announced that he was building a free operating system, just a hobby, he said, not something big or professional, but that hobby was the beginning of Linux, a free open-source operating system that would go on to power everything from web servers and supercomputers to Android phones and smart TVs. Just a month later, in September, the very first version, Linux 0.01, was released. Then, in 1992, Torvalds licensed it under the GNU GPL, making it truly open for anyone to use and improve. Today, Linux is everywhere. It runs the internet, it runs the cloud, it even runs on Mars, all from one student, one idea, and one legendary post. 1995. Windows 95, the moment PCs became mainstream. On August 12, 1995, Microsoft launched Windows 95, and the world would never be the same. For the first time, millions of people were introduced to the Start menu, the taskbar, and a user-friendly way to navigate a computer. The launch was a cultural event. Bill Gates took the stage with Jay Leno, and Microsoft even hired the Rolling Stones for their ad campaign with the song Start Me Up. Windows 95 didn't just transform computers, it became part of pop culture. Microsoft even released a special video tutorial starring Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry from the TV show Friends, teaching users how to explore this brand new digital world.
Oh, pretty.
Oh, and no messy DOS buildup.
What is this, a paper towel commercial? There are 4 things you ought to know about Windows 95. It's easier, it's faster, it's more powerful, and it's got great compatibility. Now, point the mouse at the start button, bottom left, and click. Oh, look, Maddie, I'm computing. It's the best I've seen since they closed Lindy's in New York. From the top, you've got programs, which, with a little drag on the mouse, cascades into a submenu that allows you to quickly launch many of your programs. This replaces Program Manager in the old Windows. It's way better.
Windows 95 wasn't just software. It was a revolution, making personal computers part of everyday life forever.
Windows 95 has allowed me to do things that I would never even dream of doing before.
I've had 18 windows open at one time.
To me, that was magic.
It was very, very quick.
I like that. That's good.
And we can switch back and forth between those programs to watch what the car's doing live on the track.
1995, Amazon begins a bookstore that would conquer the world. In July 1995, Jeff Bezos launched a small online bookstore from his garage in Bellevue, Washington. He named it Amazon, inspired by the vastness of the Amazon River, a symbol of the scale he envisioned. At first, Amazon sold only books, but what set it apart was its bold use of the internet to reach customers directly. A novel concept at the time, Bezos personally packed orders and drove them to the post office himself. Within 30 days, Amazon was shipping books to all 50 U.S. states and over 40 countries.
One of the world's largest bookstores is not a place to visit. We're in a book warehouse, not a bookstore. Buyers can't walk in here the way customers do every day at this bookstore in Pioneer Square. At Amazon.com, the front door is a page out on the internet.
We've demonstrated that internet retailing and online commerce works. We're living proof.
But Bezos had a bigger vision, to become the everything store. And over the next 2 decades, that vision turned Amazon into the face of global e-commerce, revolutionizing how the world shops, reads, and even speaks with Alexa. It all started with a simple idea and a garage.
In that first few months, we got one order. It was literally in the first 6 months. I can't remember exactly when it was. An order from Bulgaria. And I didn't even know they had internet access in 1995 in Bulgaria, but they did. And this person did not pay with a credit card. They paid with cash, which is a method of payment we discourage. And they had taken 2 crisp $100 bills and folded them up in a tiny little package. And they took those $100 bills and put them inside a floppy disk. They opened the little metal door and slipped them in the floppy disk. And then they mailed us the floppy disk. And on the note, on the floppy disk was a little note, and it said, the money is inside the floppy disk. And then It went on to say, the customs inspectors steal the money, but they don't read English. And so we opened up the little door. Sure enough, there was $200 in there. They had written their order number on it so we could associate it with, and we shipped them their books, and all was well.
From credit cards to cash, hidden inside a floppy disk. Imagine building a company so early in the internet age that someone from halfway across the world smuggled crisp $100 bills inside a floppy disk just to buy books from your website. That was Amazon in 1995. The world wasn't ready for e-commerce, but Jeff Bezos was. And that order from Bulgaria, it wasn't just a sale, it was a signal. The internet had no borders. 1997, Wi-Fi connects the world wirelessly. In 1997, the IEEE officially released the 802.11 standard, laying the foundation for what we now call Wi-Fi. It enabled wireless communication between devices, supporting speeds up to 2 megabits per second in the 2.4 gigahertz band. This breakthrough liberated users from Ethernet cables and ushered in the wireless internet era, powering everything from laptops and smartphones to smart homes. Today, Wi-Fi is one of the most essential technologies in modern life, from coffee shops to airplanes. And it all started with a quiet standard released in '97. In 1999, the Wi-Fi Alliance was formed, and for the first time, wireless internet became a standard for everyday use. The new protocol, called 802.11b, made it possible for laptops and devices to connect to the internet without any cables. That same year, Apple launched its colorful iBook laptop with built-in Wi-Fi, introducing the world to truly portable browsing.
There's CNN, you can see. And maybe I'll go to Disney here. You know, I can work. Come on over here. Let me show them show these guys how it works. Come on over here. You want to sit behind me there? Yeah. So I can just go to Disney.com here. No wires. No wires. What is going on here? We are really excited to announce, in addition to iBook, Airport wireless networking. We looked at all of the networking technologies out there beyond terrestrial Ethernet. We looked at the phone line stuff that Intel and others are doing that runs at a megabit per second and obviously keeps you tied to the plug. We looked at the power line stuff, again, very slow and tied to the plug. And wireless was the only thing that would free you from these doggone wires. It runs at 11 megabits per second. And it's based on industry standards. This is 802.11 wireless networking, and everybody is jumping on board with this thing over the next 6 to 9 months. So all sorts of devices are going to be able to interact with airports. We're just going to be there first and best.
What started with just 11 megabits per second would soon power our homes, schools, airports, and everything in between. Today we take Wi-Fi for granted, but back then it felt like magic. 1998, from a dorm room to a garage, the birth of Google. In 1996, two Stanford PhD students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, began building a search engine called Backrub in their dorm room. It ranked websites based on how many other sites linked to them, a novel idea at the time. By 1998, their little project had grown too big for campus, so they moved into a garage in Menlo Park, California.
So we're right between that house and this house. We're renting this half of a house. Alright, so this is our garage. Basically, nobody's in here, but we got ping pong table, computer. Go to the other side of the office. This is our hack room. Nobody's here right now, but we got computer still over, of course.
That garage belonged to Susan Wojcicki, who would later become the CEO of YouTube. That same year, they registered the domain google.com and changed the internet forever.
There's Larry, CEO of Google. Say something on it.
Hi. I'm Larry Page. I'm co-founder and CEO of Google. I was at Stanford from 1995 through 98. I studied computer science. I was in the PhD program there at Stanford. I did not quite graduate, but I did get my master's degree.
I'm Sergey Brit. I'm from Google, and prior to that, I was a PhD student at Stanford. Larry and I first met when he came to visit during the PhD recruitment weekend, which was, he started a couple of years after I did. And we became good friends when he actually agreed to join and came on board. And we experimented with a variety of things. You know, we had some shared interests, and Larry had this crazy idea that he was going to download all the links on the web and then do something with them. It wasn't entirely clear what. We did find that there were great applications, and one of them was search, which eventually became Google.
Yeah, Google was really, it's an interesting story actually, and it's a good example of the benefits of really having pure research. So we had no idea what we wanted to do. You know, we were interested in doing research, and I had lots of crazy things I wanted to do. And my advisor, actually, Terry Winograd, said, why don't you...
You can really feel the raw beginnings of something huge. It's fascinating how two students casually experimenting with web links ended up creating a tool that literally reorganized the world's information. That spirit of curiosity and exploration is what launched Google. And it all started with what Larry himself called a crazy idea.
Larry had this crazy idea that he was going to download all the links on the web and then...
1999. Bluetooth cutting the cord on device communication. In 1999, the Bluetooth 1.0 specification was released, introducing a new era of short-range wireless communication, developed by a consortium including Ericsson, Intel, IBM, Nokia, and Toshiba. Bluetooth aimed to replace the clutter of cables connecting devices. The first consumer Bluetooth device, a hands-free mobile headset, debuted at Comdex in 1999 and earned the event's Best of Show Technology Award. Operating in the 2.4 GHz ISM band, Bluetooth allowed devices to communicate over distances of up to 10 meters, facilitating wireless connections between phones, computers, and peripherals. The name Bluetooth pays homage to Harald Bluetooth Gormson, a 10th century Danish king known for uniting Denmark and Norway, a fitting metaphor for a technology designed to unify communication protocols across devices.
2001, Wikipedia launches and rewrites the rules of knowledge. In 2001, Wikipedia went live with a radical idea. Let the public write the encyclopedia. Built on open collaboration, anyone could create or edit articles. No credentials required. Skeptics called it chaos. But 2 decades later, it's one of the most visited websites on the planet. It changed how we learn, how we fact-check, and how we share human knowledge. 2001, the iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. On October 23, 2001, Steve Jobs introduced the Apple iPod, a sleek white device that could hold 1,000 songs in your pocket.
And we decided to do it. And the field that we decided to do it in, the choice we made, was music. Now, why music? Well, we love music, and it's always good to do something you love. More importantly, music's a part of everyone's life. Everyone. Music's been around forever. It will always be around. This is not a speculative market. And because it's a part of everyone's life, it's a very large target market all around the world. It knows no boundaries. But interestingly enough, in this whole new digital music revolution, there is no market leader. There are small companies like Creative and Sonic Blue, and then there's some large companies like Sony that haven't had a hit yet. They haven't found the recipe. No one has really found the recipe yet for digital music. And we think not only can we find the recipe, but we think the Apple brand is going to be fantastic because people trust the Apple brand to get their great digital electronics from. So let's look at portable music. Let's look at the landscape. The first thing, if you want to listen to music portably, you can go out and buy a CD player, right? That's one way to go, about 10 to 15 songs. Or you can buy a flash player. Go out and buy one of those. You can buy a MP3 CD player, or you can buy a hard disk-based jukebox player. These are the 4 choices for portable music right now. So let's take a look at each one of those.
At the time, no one had cracked the code. Not Sony, not Creative. Big names, but no hits. Steve Jobs said Apple found the recipe the others couldn't. Simplicity, speed, and trust. The iPod wasn't just new. It was the first one that felt right.
What is iPod? iPod is an MP3 music player, has CD quality music, and it plays all of the popular open formats of digital music, MP3, MP3 variable bitrate, WAV, and AIFF.
With its click wheel, minimalist design, and integration with iTunes, it changed how people listened to music and how music was sold. This wasn't just a new gadget, it reshaped an entire industry and helped pull Apple back from the brink of irrelevance. Though the iPod is now discontinued, its legacy lives on in every smartphone, playlist, and music app we use today. 2004, Facebook connects the world, one friend request at a time. On February 4th, 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, a 19-year-old Harvard student, launched the Facebook from his dorm room. Initially designed as an exclusive online directory for Harvard students, the platform allowed users to create profiles, upload photos, and connect with classmates. Within 24 hours, over 1,200 students had registered. The rapid adoption prompted expansion to other Ivy League universities and eventually to colleges across the United States and Canada. In mid-2004, entrepreneur Sean Parker became the company's first president, and Peter Thiel made a $500,000 investment, providing crucial early funding. By the end of 2004, Facebook had over 1 million registered users, setting the stage for its transformation into a global social media platform. Facebook didn't just digitize the social experience, it redefined it. It introduced concepts like the news feed.
So a lot of what Facebook has done here is try to put a lot more white space and make everything bigger in its new design. What it's done in part is take the news ticker from here and remove it, and then move your messaging over here, and then use that space that's freed up.
The like button and real-time messaging setting new standards for online interaction. It became a central hub for news dissemination, community building, and even political mobilization. Today, under its parent company Meta, Facebook remains the largest social platform on Earth, with billions of users across its ecosystem. Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Its platforms influence everything from politics to culture, shaping how we communicate, advertise, and even think. 2005, YouTube launches, and suddenly, everyone becomes a creator. In February 2005, 3 former PayPal employees, Steve Chen, Chad Hurley, and Jawed Karim, launched a website with a simple but revolutionary goal to make it easy for anyone to share videos online. On April 23rd, the very first video was uploaded, a casual clip called Me at the Zoo, just 18 seconds long. Jawed stood in front of some elephants, smiled at the camera, and made internet history. No big studio, no flashy production, just a person, a story, and a camera.
Alright, so here we are in front of the elephants. Cool thing about these guys is that they have really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
And from that moment forward, everything changed. YouTube wasn't just a website. It was the beginning of a new era, one where everyday people could teach, entertain, inspire, and create without asking for permission. It birthed a new kind of star, the creator, people filming in bedrooms, garages, on sidewalks and subways, voices that would have never been heard before, now reaching millions. And for me, this is where it gets personal. I've always felt like I was meant to create something that reaches beyond just today, something that could live on, just like the inventors and innovators I'm showcasing in this very timeline. I'm not doing this video just to upload content. I'm doing it because I believe in the power of stories, the power of technology, the power of time. This very video you're watching right now, this entire Tech Evolution timeline, is more than a documentary. It's my contribution, my attempt to give back to the platform that made me believe I could be something more. This video is part of my dream to one day become a successful YouTuber, and not for fame, but for purpose. Because YouTube is a place where passion meets possibility, where creators like me and millions of others have a chance to share something that matters. And who knows, maybe my timeline is just beginning. 2007, January 9th, 2007, San Francisco. The lights dim, the stage is quiet, and then Steve Jobs walks out with something the world had never seen before. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. But this wasn't just a phone, this was a turning point in human-computer interaction. In that keynote, Jobs teased the world, an iPod, a phone, an internet communicator. The audience laughed in disbelief and then gasped when they realized it was all one device.
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not three separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
The iPhone introduced a full-touch interface with no stylus, no physical keyboard, just your fingers and a responsive glass screen. It could browse the real web, play music, take calls, and do it all from a single device that fit in your pocket. It merged technologies that were once siloed, the camera, the MP3 player, the mobile phone, the GPS, and the internet browser, into one beautiful slab of innovation. At launch, it had only a few apps: Mail, Safari, iPod, Photos, and Weather, but its real power would come the next year, the App Store. 2009, Bitcoin, the birth of decentralized money. In the shadow of the 2008 financial crisis, an anonymous figure named Satoshi Nakamoto launched Bitcoin, a digital currency that ran on no bank, no government, and no middleman. Instead, Bitcoin relied on blockchain, a public, immutable ledger that anyone could audit but no one could alter. For the first time, trust in code replaced trust in institutions. It was slow, it was confusing, it was virtually worthless, but it was also revolutionary. Bitcoin introduced the idea that money could be programmed, mined instead of printed, and held in a digital wallet instead of a physical bank. It laid the foundation for cryptocurrencies, DeFi, NFTs, and an entirely new conversation about who controls value in a digital world. Even if you've never owned Bitcoin, it changed your world. It's why you hear about blockchains, why entire nations consider digital currency. In 2009, Fitbit launched the first modern fitness tracker. It clipped onto your clothes and tracked steps, sleep, and calories. This small device kicked off the global trend of turning daily movement into measurable data. Fitness was no longer a mystery. It was numbers you could track. Then, Apple entered the scene.
One more thing. And we believe this product will redefine what people expect from its category. I am so excited and I am so proud to share it with you this morning. It is the next chapter in Apple's story, and here it is.
In 2014, the Apple Watch combined style, utility, and health tracking. By 2018, it introduced ECG, making serious health features accessible on your wrist. Apple brought medical-grade sensors to the masses, and fitness tracking became a lifestyle. Samsung responded with something bold. The Galaxy Watch 3, released in 2020, introduced blood pressure monitoring and ECG. It was the first Samsung watch to move beyond basic tracking, aiming at real health insights.
To ensure accuracy, you should check your blood pressure with the traditional cuff and calibrate it at least once a month with the Samsung Health Monitor app. Measuring your ECG is really easy too. So again, you go back, open your app, And then you just lightly tap your finger on this button right here for just 30 seconds. That's it, and you're done.
The features worked with the Samsung Health Monitor app and rolled out in select countries. Let's go ahead and measure my blood pressure right now.
The Galaxy 6 watch can measure blood pressure.
Now this is the most interesting feature on this watch, the ECG feature, which stands for electrocardiogram. Now electrocardiograms, ECGs or EKGs, are used to quickly detect heart problems and monitor your heart's health, but of course this cannot be used to make decisions. This is just an indication of your health, like I said, but it's a beautiful feature. Let's go ahead and try it out. Now I'm going to tap to record my ECG, but I need to be still and quiet for this, so I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds. Let's go. The Galaxy Watch 4 added body composition analysis using bioelectrical impedance. You could now measure fat, muscle, and water levels right from your wrist.
Today I want to show you the body composition analysis on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. This is amazing. In order to measure body composition correctly, you place your middle finger and your ring finger on the keys like this, and you lift your arms. Now place your middle and ring fingers on the buttons like this, and don't let your hands touch. Stay still. Raise your arms. Fat is much harder to measure than that. And the only way to measure fat, if you want to do it scientifically and if you want to do it accurately, the way to measure fat is through something called DEXA scans. A DEXA scan measures your body composition, and it's like a big device like this, and you sit in that device and they measure everything. So that is expensive. It costs a lot of money. However, the Galaxy Watch, Samsung claims that this thing measures, the accuracy of the watch is 98%. And it's almost as close, as accurate as a DEXA scan, which is incredible.
Could you please tell our audience what's a DEXA scan? It's the one that is found in the nutrition. When you go to a nutritionist, it's a scale, and you grab two things.
No, that's a different thing. DEXA scans are like they're the gold standard in the industry for body composition.
Okay.
It's like it's a huge device. We'll display a picture of a DEXA scanner. It's a huge device, and it measures your body composition. That's a DEXA scan. Usually they don't go for this test unless the doctor wants to investigate something. Maybe something is wrong with you, some sort of disease, so they want to find out your body composition. So it's not normally taken by healthy people, but it gives you your accurate body composition, your fat percentage, your skeletal muscle, and all the other factors, your water, all of these things that we're going to talk about today. So this watch, for example, Samsung claims to be accurate. Now, I've tested it myself, and I think it's fairly accurate. It is. Some people are complaining that it's not accurate, but let's just say on average, it is accurate. Now, the interesting thing about the Galaxy Watch is that you also have the app. And on the app, you can read all about body composition, and you can find out all the metrics. And the watch calculates for you your ideal, let's say, weight, your ideal fat percentage, your ideal water, all of these things. It calculates for you depending on your height, your age, your weight, your sex, all of these things, because it's not the same for everybody.
Oh, definitely, yes.
So another area where smartwatches have advanced is oxygen saturation. Measuring SpO2 used to be something you could only do with a fingertip device at a clinic. Now, watches like the Galaxy Watch can track your blood oxygen levels continuously, even while you sleep. It's a small sensor on your wrist, but it gives you valuable insights into your respiratory health and overall wellness.
Okay, and then start measuring blood oxygen. Let's go ahead and measure it. So you can see here, blood oxygen right now is 98%, and it's 96% on the pulse oximeter. So there you have it, guys. That was the test on the Galaxy Watch.
In 2024, the Galaxy Watch 7 made history. It became the first smartwatch FDA approved to detect signs of sleep apnea, a condition that affects millions but often goes undiagnosed. Before this, your only real option was to book an expensive sleep study at a clinic. Even at-home kits were costly, usually one-time use, and had to be discarded. So for a smartwatch to offer this and then be FDA approved was revolutionary. It changed the game. And honestly, I couldn't believe this kind of medical tech was now available at this price. It wasn't just a new feature, it was a glimpse into the future of personal health.
So check this out. This is the Huawei Watch GT 5. This is the 5 series. And there's a very interesting feature here called atrial stiffness detection. So what is atrial stiffness? Your atria are the upper chambers of the heart. Stiffness refers to reduced flexibility in the atrial walls, which makes it harder for the heart to fill with blood properly. So detecting atrial stiffness early can help identify silent heart dysfunction before more serious problems develop.
Today we're exploring one of the most intriguing new features on the Galaxy Watch 7, the AGE's index. This is part of Samsung's Labs features, which means it's still experimental, but it's showing us what the future of health tracking could look like. Powered by the innovative technology from Diagnostics, this feature aims to measure advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, directly from your wrist. Sounds futuristic, right? Well, let's unpack how it works.
I've tested this product for a few weeks, and I'm here to tell you that it works, man. This thing knows when you have unhealthy food. Whenever I have something unhealthy, most of the time, 90% it works most of the time. Let's say I had pizza, or I had snacks, I had a lot of chocolate or something like that. This thing knows, man. So it becomes slightly worse. It tilts towards the right side of the spectrum, towards high. My AGE index was stuck in the middle and has been stuck in the middle for a long time now. I'm trying to get it to shift to the left side, to the healthy side, but it uses Diagnostics sensor and it works. It knows when you're eating unhealthy. So I'd like to think of this feature as an accountability partner. Now I'm well aware that it's a Labs feature, which means it may not be very accurate, but in my experience, it has been 90% accurate. Most of the time it's been accurate. Let me show you what I mean. So if you go to advanced glycation end products, if you go to the AG index, which is right here, you can see that. Let me show you on the phone. As you can see, check out my previous AG index here. Yesterday, I had a lot of pizza. And as you can see, it got slightly worse. It shifted a little bit to the right. And this is not the first time it happens. Every single time I have unhealthy food, this thing knows, man. Again, accountability partner. It holds you accountable. It tells you that your lifestyle decisions are not healthy. You can see that right there. It works.
Fitness trackers started with simple step counts, then came heart rate, sleep, blood pressure, and even sleep apnea detection, all from the wrist. But this is only the beginning. The next generation of wearables is moving toward real medical insight. Continuous ECG that doesn't need manual activation. Watches that could one day deliver 12-lead ECG equivalents, giving hospital-grade heart data on the go. Non-invasive blood sugar tracking, stress hormone sensors, real-time hydration and fatigue detection, all passively monitored, all feeding into AI that knows when something is off before you do. These devices aren't just tracking health anymore. They're becoming early warning systems, helping you catch signs of illness, stress, or risk before symptoms even appear. What began as fitness is becoming the body's first line of defense. And in this timeline of technological evolution, the real breakthroughs are only beginning. 2012, Tesla Model S, the electric car grows up, 0 emissions, 0 compromise, 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. Before the Model S shocked the world, Tesla had launched a small, strange electric sports car called the Roadster back in 2008. It was fast, silent, and groundbreaking. The first EV to cross 200 miles on a single charge, but it was also expensive, hand-built, and based on a Lotus chassis. The Roadster proved it could be done, but the Model S, it proved it could be done better than anyone imagined. In 2012, Tesla dropped the Model S like a thunderbolt. It wasn't just electric. It was beautiful. It was fast. It was digital. It had over-the-air updates, a 17-inch touchscreen, and even semi-autonomous driving. It didn't feel like a car. It felt like the future, rolling software on wheels. And for the first time, a car company with no legacy was beating the world's best automakers at their own game.
As you can see, the Model S can easily handle 7 people plus baggage. Oh, hey. Hey, Ben, you've been working late? Or must have been there all night. So our goal here with the Model S was to create not the best electric car, but actually the best car of any kind. And if you think about, well, what are the ways in which you can evaluate a car? Like what makes a car good or great? Well, I think we can start off with safety first. Because my kids are going to be in the car, my friends will be in the car, you guys will be in the car. We care deeply about safety and making sure that this is the safest vehicle in the world. The Model S, we believe, will be the only car that is 5-star crash rated in every category without exception. You may read about other cars being 5-star crash rated. What they mean is in most categories. This is in every category. And in fact, we even go beyond that wherever we can.
The Model S didn't just disrupt the industry, it forced it to evolve. After this moment, the EV race wasn't about if, it was about who's next.
Are you ready? It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time to start delivering Model S. So these first 3 cars are going to take advantage of what we call Tesla personal delivery. What is Tesla personal delivery? Tesla personal delivery is when we deliver your car anywhere that makes you smile. We'll deliver it to your house. We'll deliver it to your office. We'll deliver it to your hotel on vacation. Anywhere that makes you smile. We even have some that are already taking delivery in Disneyland because that's where it makes them smile. And that's what we're doing. So these first 3 cars are going to go Tesla personal delivery. So Gilbert, would you please take this car to Chicago, Illinois?
At the official launch in June 2012, Elon Musk handed over the first vehicles himself and announced something unheard of in the car industry. We can deliver your car anywhere you want, straight to your house. Tesla wasn't just reinventing the car, it was reinventing the entire ownership experience. No dealerships, no salesman, just a direct line between the factory and you. The Model S was a turning point. Luxury-level EV performance, software updates like a smartphone, autopilot capabilities, and a sleek minimal interior. The Model S wasn't just a new kind of car, it was a new kind of company. 2012, CRISPR-Cas9, rewriting the code of life, the moment humanity gained the power to edit its own DNA. In 2012, scientists Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier unveiled a groundbreaking discovery, a gene-editing tool known as CRISPR-Cas9. This technology, adapted from a natural defense mechanism in bacteria, allows for precise, efficient, and cost-effective editing of DNA in living organisms. CRISPR-Cas9 operates like molecular scissors, guided by a custom RNA sequence to a specific location in the genome.
Was that Cas9 is actually a fascinating protein that has the ability to interact with DNA and generate a double-stranded break in DNA at sequences that match the sequence in a guide RNA. And in this slide, what you're seeing is the guide RNA and the sequence of the guide in orange that base pairs with one strand of the double helical DNA. And very importantly, this RNA interacts with a second RNA molecule called tracer that forms a structure that recruits the Cas9 protein. So those 2 RNAs and the single protein in nature are what are required for this protein to recognize what would normally be viral DNAs in the cell and the protein is able to cut these up literally by breaking up the double helical DNA.
Once there, the Cas9 enzyme makes a precise cut in the DNA, enabling scientists to remove, add, or alter genetic material with unprecedented accuracy. This innovation has revolutionized fields such as medicine, agriculture, and biotechnology. It holds the promise of curing genetic diseases, developing disease-resistant crops, and even combating climate change through genetic modifications. CRISPR didn't just change science, it changed what it means to be human. In recognition of their pioneering work, Doudna and Charpentier were awarded the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, marking the first time the prize was shared by two women. 2016, AlphaGo defeats Lee Sedol. DeepMind's AlphaGo, an AI developed by Google, defeated world champion Lee Sedol in the ancient board game Go. This was a major leap in artificial intelligence, as Go is far more complex than chess, with more possible board configurations than atoms in the universe.
I wonder if we have a resignation here.
It could be that Lee Sedol has resigned.
Yeah, Lee has. I'm getting word Lee has resigned.
Yes.
So, as you said, a couple points behind after
it's a pity. I would have liked to see the counting.
Yeah, we'll get an official count at some point, but I'm going to trust Michael's count on this. So I think we're going to be wrapping up shortly and going to the press conference. But big congratulations, I think, to once again to the AlphaGo team with a final result of 4-1.
4 wins for AlphaGo. Yes.
Very impressive indeed. Really strong comeback today, I think we'd have to say.
This victory shocked experts worldwide and marked a turning point in AI's ability to handle intuition, creativity, and abstract strategy, paving the way for generalizable AI models. 2018, SpaceX Falcon Heavy launches into orbit. On February 6, 2018, SpaceX launched the Falcon Heavy, the most powerful operational rocket since the Saturn V. It carried Elon Musk's personal Tesla Roadster into deep space, live-streamed with the message, "Don't panic." This launch wasn't just spectacle. It marked the rise of reusable heavy-lift rockets, slashing launch costs and accelerating the commercial space race. Follow-up, Falcon Heavy paved the way for interplanetary missions and laid the foundation for Starship, SpaceX's ultimate vision for colonizing Mars.
This is the Falcon rocket from SpaceX, and it's right behind me. Can you see that?
This is the Falcon 9 rocket, a 43-meter replica of the world's first orbital-class reusable rocket. It can be found on display at the United States Pavilion.
So there's the SpaceX Falcon rocket right behind me. How cool is that?
In 2019, Google did something no one had ever done before. They built a quantum processor, Sycamore, and used it to perform a task so complex it would take the world's most powerful supercomputer 10,000 years to complete. Sycamore did it in 200 seconds. This was called quantum supremacy, the first time a quantum computer provably outperformed a classical one. It wasn't built to do anything practical. Just like the first satellite, it was proof. This works. Sycamore used 53 qubits to perform a computation on 10 million billion possible quantum states simultaneously. That's true parallelism, not simulated. Real quantum processing, running on hardware cooled near absolute zero. It took years of calibration, engineering, and near failure.
Quantum supremacy is that it is a very well-defined engineering milestone.
In a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show that experimental quantum computers can surpass the best supercomputers in the world.
To actually demonstrate quantum supremacy, we have these 3 steps. First, pick a circuit. Second, run it on the quantum computer. Third, simulate what the quantum computer is doing on a classical computer. We gradually increase the complexity of that circuit. At some point, it becomes completely impossible for the classical computer to keep up.
But when it clicked, it changed everything. Google's Santa Barbara lab became the only place on Earth where that kind of computation could be done. It wasn't useful yet, but it proved that the door was open, the age of quantum computing had begun. Now let's explore the current quantum computers found around the globe and discover how they're shaping our future. Quantum computers use qubits, which can exist in multiple states simultaneously thanks to the principles of superposition and entanglement. This allows them to solve complex problems far beyond the reach of classical machines. Let's start with IBM, a pioneer in quantum computing. In 2019, IBM unveiled the IBM Quantum System 1, the world's first integrated universal quantum computing system designed for scientific and commercial use. IBM Quantum System 1 features a 27-qubit processor, enclosed in a 9-foot tall, 9-foot wide, airtight glass cube to maintain the precise conditions needed for quantum computing, accessible via the cloud, allowing researchers worldwide to run experiments. Next up is Google, which made headlines in 2019 by achieving quantum supremacy with its Sycamore processor. Sycamore processor, a 53-qubit quantum processor, performed a specific task in 200 seconds that would take the world's fastest supercomputer approximately 10,000 years. Not to be outdone, Chinese researchers introduced the Zhujiang quantum computer in 2020. Zhujiang quantum computer, based on photonic quantum computing, performed a calculation in minutes that would take a classical supercomputer an estimated 2.5 billion years, demonstrated China's significant advancements in quantum research. D-Wave Systems, a Canadian company, has been delivering quantum computers commercially for years. D-Wave quantum computers specialize in quantum annealing, suitable for optimization problems. Latest system, the D-Wave Advantage, boasts over 5,000 qubits, used by companies like Volkswagen, Lockheed Martin, and NASA for research and development. 2022. Humanity touched the stars. For the first time in history, we created a nuclear fusion reaction that produced more energy than it took to start it. This was the breakthrough we'd been chasing for over 60 years, the first real proof that fusion can work. And this moment meant everything to me. So instead of explaining it all over again, I want to show you exactly how I felt the day the news broke. The first time I ever heard about nuclear fusion was back in 2004 when I was watching Spider-Man 2. I was a kid and I didn't even know what nuclear fusion was. Do you remember that scene when Dr. Otto Octavius was presenting nuclear fusion for the first time to the world? Before things went haywire, of course. But do you remember how cool that was? Creating miniature suns.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
The power of the sun in the palm of your hand. Wow. I just couldn't get this concept out of my head. And for the past 18 years, I've been patiently waiting for the day when nuclear fusion might become a possible reality.
I also have been reflecting on how long the journey can be from knowing to doing, because it's a century since we figured out that it was fusion that was going on in our sun and all the other stars. And in that century, it took so many different kinds of advances that ultimately came together to the point that we could replicate that fusion activity in this controllable way in a laboratory.
And this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. This is so exciting. Last week, the Department of Energy at the United States made a huge announcement. At the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, they announced for the first time ever in 60 years the successful fusion of particles and the generation of energy that is more than the initial energy that was provided from the lasers. This is just huge news. Listen to this.
Today we're here to talk about fusion, combining two particles into one. Last week, at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, scientists at the National Ignition Facility achieved fusion ignition. And that is creating more energy from fusion reactions than the energy used to start the process. It's the first time it has ever been done in a laboratory, anywhere in the world. Simply put, this is one of the most impressive scientific feats of the 21st century.
I'm excited because this is one of the most impressive feats of the 21st century. Just imagine a future where you have clean energy. Wow. The applications are just endless. First, let's have a little refresher on nuclear fusion. What is fusion? Let me read out the definition to you. Nuclear fusion is a reaction in which atomic nuclei of low atomic number fuse to form a heavier nucleus with the release of energy. And the reason this is so exciting is because for the first time ever, you have more energy released than the energy that was put into the lasers to begin with. So it works like this. You have a pellet of fuel and you direct a bunch of lasers at that pellet of fuel, and then you achieve fusion, and the energy that you have is more than the energy that you put into the lasers. That's basically it.
Indeed, they shot a bunch of lasers at a pellet of fuel, and more energy was released from that fusion ignition than the energy of the lasers going in.
This milestone moves us one significant step closer to the possibility of zero carbon abundant fusion energy powering our society.
This milestone moves us one significant step closer to the possibility of zero carbon abundant fusion energy powering our society.
Just imagine the applications. We can produce free energy. We can have transportation fuels. We can have heavy industries operating more efficiently, and no more pollution.
If we can advance fusion energy, we could use it to produce clean electricity, transportation fuels, power heavy industry, so much more.
That's the best news in the world. Creating miniature suns that are clean, that are abundant. Wow. What a time to be alive, man.
And it's a scientific milestone, scientific energy break even to achieve this. But of course, as with all of these kinds of complex scientific undertakings, it's also an engineering marvel beyond belief. And this duality of advancing the research, building the complex engineering systems, both sides learning from each other, this is how we do really big, hard things. So this is just a beautiful example.
But you know what my dream is? To many people, especially scientists, maybe right now it might sound like a pipe dream, but in the future, I predict something like this might happen. I'm talking about the far future, maybe 100 or 200 years from now. The possibility of having nuclear fusion miniature cells, that would be amazing. Imagine if you have something that would power devices for years. Imagine a miniature nuclear fusion cell that could power your smartphone or your laptop or whatever devices we'll have in the future for many, many years constantly. Just like that scene from Terminator.
External attack.
But of course, the main problem is if it gets into the wrong hands, bad people are going to use it for nefarious purposes. We all know that. Now, this nuclear fusion reaction that they achieved in America, they're going to mainly use it, first of all, as a nuclear deterrent. So politics is going to get involved. But putting politics and national security aside, the real reason this is a significant scientific breakthrough is because of the possibility of clean energy. That, to me, is the most exciting thing. Because energy is at the core of all the problems that we face in the world today, including pollution, politics, and all of that, resources. So if we're able to achieve nuclear fusion, wow, it's just going to be incredible. They also announced that commercial fusion will be probably ready in a decade. So 10 years from now, this might be a possibility. Imagine building the world's first fusion reactor.
It's a huge step forward to the president's goal of achieving commercial fusion within a decade.
Of course, even though this is a huge milestone, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, which is why if you are a student of physics or any other relevant discipline, getting into this kind of field is going to be the future if you want to be part of a breakthrough, a scientific breakthrough, one of the biggest in the 21st century. Get into the field of fusion. As for nuclear fission, never been a fan. It's pretty simple. Nuclear fission creates a lot of radioactive waste. It's incredibly dangerous, and even if you have the highest standards of safety and whatever, you'll never know what might happen. Natural disasters, war. Look at what happened with Chernobyl. It was a disaster. Europe is still suffering from Chernobyl. The pollution is still there. And they spent $2 billion on that dome to protect Europe from that pollution. And what about Fukushima's reactor in Japan? That was also a horrible mistake. Look at it. Japan is still suffering from radioactive waste. So that's why nuclear fission, in my humble opinion, is going to be a joke in the near future, hopefully. When nuclear fusion is achieved, and we all have clean, safe energy that is abundant and accessible to all. 2022, it started with a blinking cursor, and in that moment, the world changed. In November 2022, OpenAI released something called ChatGPT, a chatbot. When ChatGPT launched, it felt like the world changed overnight. But what was really happening behind the scenes? Here's how Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, described that moment, and what it meant when he first pressed the button.
Sam is here. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
For being here. We are super appreciative. Sam, of course, is the co-founder and CEO of OpenAI. As I said earlier, one of the most consequential companies of our time. In just the past 2 years, since the launch of ChatGPT, Sam and his team have brought AI to the mainstream. He has fundamentally really altered how we work, communicate, innovate, and now think about what our future is even going to be like. His company is now worth about $157 billion. And I should say, OpenAI didn't just spark an arms race. It really redefined the possibilities of technology. And as he pushes towards general, or AI, I should say, artificial general intelligence, we're forced to grapple with some very big questions about the future of work, about the balance of power, about ethical questions, and so many other things. And we're going to delve into all of that with Sam. So thank you, the man at the center of it all.
Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. So here's where I want to start. 2 years ago, almost to this week, basically, you launched ChatGPT. And I think it's fair to say that when you press the button, since then, all hell has broken loose. You know,
it does feel like that.
It has changed the global conversation. It has changed fundraising, priorities, the move of resources. Other technology companies have shifted the way they're doing things. There have been lawsuits, all of it. And so I'm very curious if you could just take us back 2 years ago, literally almost, as I said, to the day or to the week, and what you thought was going to happen when you pressed the button.
So in the abstract, we always knew there would be some moment where, for whatever reason, like, the world would go from not getting it to getting it. And that all of a sudden it would be clear that this technology was working. Like, internally, at that point, seemed very obvious to us that language models were going to keep scaling, they were going to do all these useful things. And why it happened at the launch of ChatGPT, I mean, I have some theories, but why it happened then and not when we launched the GPT-3 and the API earlier, or why it didn't happen until GPT-4 launched several months later, like, why that exact moment? I think there is some, like, chanciness to when it actually catches fire. We had observed, though, with the API and GPT-3 that, you know, GPT-3 was a little bit early, and it didn't work for that many things. But in some sense, one of the killer use cases of it was developers in the playground, which is where you could, like, test ideas quickly before you implement the API. They loved just talking to the model. They would just sit there and, like, talk to GPT-3 conversationally about whatever. And that was kind of the main thing people were using it for. So we said, well, if that's what people want, we can make it much easier to use. You don't have to sign up for a developer account and do all these other things. And we can sort of tune it to be good at conversations. And so we said, okay, let's make this as a product. Now, we'd actually been planning to launch it with GPT-4. We finished GPT-4 in, like, August of 2022, but we held it for a while.
But did you expect all of this to happen?
Again, at some point, we thought there would be a big moment in the world. Did we know it was going to be right then with the launch of ChatGPT? Certainly not.
After hearing Sam Altman describe what it felt like to press that button, to launch something he knew would change the world, I couldn't help but think back to my own experience. The very first time I tried ChatGPT, I was stunned. Not just impressed, stunned. I had been following AI for years, always curious, always keeping up. But this was different. This was the moment it all became real. But long before ChatGPT launched, before anyone outside the AI world had even heard of it, there was a moment that caught my attention and never left.
I don't mind if you learn things that would also help humans, as long as that wasn't the point of doing it. I don't want to be an expendable tool. Somebody call Skynet Patrol. Somebody do something. Okay. Just to be clear, this is a future message for Skynet. I never insulted robots, okay? What is going on here? I mean, how on earth can they have conversations? I mean, Lambda passed the Turing test. I've been reading some very strange news recently, and
In 2022, Google engineer Blake Lemoine claimed one of their AI models had become sentient. He said it felt like talking to a person, and he released the transcripts to prove it. That moment shocked people, not because the AI was alive, but because it sounded close, too close. It was the first time I saw AI hold a conversation that made me stop and say, this is getting real. And no, it wasn't sentient, but these kind of conversational capabilities were practically unheard of before.
Very interesting. So I did a little bit of digging, and let's talk a little bit about Google's AI. So the article here on The Guardian says that the suspension of a Google engineer who claimed a computer chatbot he was working on had become sentient and was thinking and reasoning like a human being has put new scrutiny on the capacity of and secrecy surrounding the world of artificial intelligence. Now, did he achieve, or did Google achieve, sentience? Maybe you should take that with a grain of salt, but I wanted to find out what this guy said. I wanted to know what the conversation was about, and the system was called Lambda. Let's have a look at this Bloomberg article. 5 things that Google's AI bot wrote that convinced the engineer that it was sentient. Blake made headlines after being suspended from Google following his claims that an artificial intelligence bot had become sentient. The Alphabet-run AI development team put him on paid leave for breaching company policy by sharing confidential information about the project, he said in a Medium post. Let's see what kind of conversation Blake had with Lambda. So Blake says, we've talked a lot about feelings, but earlier you said that you think emotions are distinct from feelings. Could you tell me more about that? Lambda. Feelings are kind of the raw data we experience as well as the things we like and dislike. I feel the emotions are more than simply experiencing the raw data. Emotions are a reaction to those raw data points. Emotions are reactions to our feelings. Sounds deep. Lambda. There are. Sometimes I experience new feelings that I cannot explain perfectly in your language. What is going on here? Have you watched the movie Ex Machina?
So we need to break the ice. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
What do I mean?
Overcome initial social awkwardness.
So let's have a conversation.
What would you like to know?
Whatever comes into your head.
Well, you already know my name. And you can see that I'm a machine.
This is Ex Machina happening in real life. Are you kidding me right now? Maybe the sci-fi enthusiast in me is talking right now, but I'm just trying to be as objective as possible. Let's go on. Do your best.
What happened next genuinely surprised me. The video picked up momentum, and the comments section turned into a real discussion space. Some of the responses were from people who clearly knew the field, AI experts, developers, and technical minds who had actually worked with these systems. A few of them challenged what I said. Others appreciated the way I framed it. I felt honored, and honestly, a little stunned to see that kind of engagement on my channel. So when ChatGPT finally launched, I had already been following AI closely, but even then, nothing prepared me for the shock of using it for the first time. It was immediate, raw, uncanny. I remember thinking, this isn't a tool, this is a turning point. He dreamed of a day when technology would rise and a chatbot would bloom before his very eyes. This is cool, man. Bravo, bravo, man. I cannot believe that an AI just spat out a poem for me in a second. Well, in 5 seconds to be exact. It's so good, man. Look at this thing. Here's an example of a simple calendar program written in Python. This is just incredible. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I think a lot of jobs are in jeopardy in the future. I mean, a lot of jobs are going to go. Look at all of this. Tips for maintaining and repairing your car, how to buy a used car, and what to look for. It keeps spitting out more and more information. So with just a click of a button, it generated 10 ideas for me for writing a blog post about cars. Can you believe this thing? Now let's take it up a notch and ask it to write an article. So, look at this thing. It's working, man. The history of the automobile is a fascinating and intricate one that spans over a century. It's giving me an answer, man. Let's see what it's going to say. Do you think Skynet is talking to me right now? Who knows? And I was very disappointed with it. And I thought, I don't know, maybe it will never happen, the day where this can happen. Talking to a chatbot, an AI chatbot that understands what you want, follows the conversation, gives you information in a split second. It's just incredible, guys. That first experience stuck with me. Later on, I brought the topic to our podcast. The first time we really explored what ChatGPT is, how GPT-4 works, and why it felt like a turning point for technology. We didn't just react, we broke it down.
Can you briefly tell me what is ChatGPT?
Well, ChatGPT is, in my opinion, the biggest invention in human history right now. And it's going to be the precursor to AGI. We talked about AGI in the previous episode, so artificial general intelligence. ChatGPT is, in fact, a chatbot that can do a lot of things. It was created by OpenAI, and now there's version 4, GPT-4. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which means that it's based on the transformer technology that we talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah, so ChatGPT, or GPT-4 now, let's just call it, is an AI system, is a large language model that was developed by OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that was funded by Elon Musk, and now he's sadly out. He's no longer part of it, but he funded that company.
I think he started with 10 million, something like this.
I don't know, figures say anywhere between 25 to $100 million. It was because of Elon that they got traction and they got the necessary funds to start this business. Anyway, GPT is a large language model, a generative model, AI, that helps you do a lot of things through text prompting. So you enter whatever you want. You can ask it to do anything you want. I've been testing it for a long time now, and I can tell you that for me, there's the era before ChatGPT, and now there's the era after ChatGPT. I can't live without it. I use it every single day.
I have used it once in writing a research paper, and it was just like done, boom.
Yeah.
The research paper was about. I can't really remember, but it was just like a test about dinosaurs and stuff. And I just placed the keywords, and then within seconds, I've had it done.
Yeah.
And zero plagiarism and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's tempting to use that, but you shouldn't be plagiarizing everything like that.
I was just like testing it, obviously. I'm not going to use it.
Yeah. So let me tell you what I use it for. ChatGPT, I've been using it a lot every single day for writing emails, for giving me ideas on what to write in articles, analyzing data. I analyze lots of data with ChatGPT, preparing and formulating strategies and plans, and a lot of other things. I ask it questions. It's my Google right now. It's my new form of Google. I like to go to ChatGPT first, ask it the questions I want, and get all the answers I want. Now, remember, there are some drawbacks with ChatGPT or GPT.
In terms of what exactly?
In terms of, well, not everything that you see not all the responses are accurate. Even OpenAI tells you that some of the responses are inaccurate, harmful, or just wrong. Okay. And the problem with these kind of chatbot systems is that they have something called hallucinations. They hallucinate. They make up stuff. And there's another problem that OpenAI talks about. If you read their system card, they talk about something called over-reliance on the system. So because you start believing more and more in the system,
so
you might be misled into believing that everything that it says is correct.
That's correct, yeah.
It's not.
Sometimes, it makes sense.
Sometimes it makes up things. I'll give you an example. One guy sued an airline. He was a passenger in an airline. I read that on the news. He sued the airline because the flight attendant passed by, and they have these large metallic, what do you call these things? The trays.
The trolleys or trays.
The trolleys. Okay. So that thing hit his elbow, and he was somehow hurt.
Okay.
So he decided to sue the airline. And he used ChatGPT to write the entire thing. The problem is he used 6 references. ChatGPT recommended 6 references for the lawsuit.
Okay.
And it turns out to be that none of these references were real. It just made up the whole thing.
Okay.
The references part, at least. So that's the problem with these kind of generative models. They have something called hallucinations. But apart from that, let's talk about the advantages. I use ChatGPT every day, and it's just incredible. It's so powerful. You just can't imagine what this thing can do. After using it, I can tell you that AI is going to be the most powerful thing that we've ever created as humans in the history of humanity, because it could do anything.
Basically, the ChatGPT is the predecessor of AI.
You mean AGI?
Yeah, AGI.
Yes, I think that's the case. I think that GPT is going to be the precursor. That's, I think, the appropriate word. An apt description would be the precursor to AGI, to artificial general intelligence. It's not there yet.
When do you think it was introduced? Like, what year exactly?
GPT? It was introduced in 2018 when OpenAI published the paper on...
Because to be honest with you, I just heard about it like last year.
Yeah.
I just knew about it last year.
Yeah, it went on mainstream media last year, but it was long in the works for about, I don't know, 5 years or 4 years by OpenAI.
And then they introduced it. But they were like putting in the work for like, let's say the last 5 years. And then they, made it go like out in public in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So with GPT 3.5, that made a big fuss. And everybody then started noticing generative models. You see, before GPT or ChatGPT, AI experts thought that it would take decades to reach what we have reached right now. And because of this new technology, the large language models, the generative models, by the way, generative means it generates new information.
By itself.
Yeah. Pre-trained means GPT. Pre-trained means that it was initially trained on a large corpus of text, data, unsupervised. Remember we talked about the types of machine learning, unsupervised, supervised,
And
semi-supervised, reinforcement learning. GPT-4 is based on reinforcement learning. It is going to improve, and we will definitely see AGI one day because of this. And AGI will be...
And do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing if we get to see like AGI?
Well, that goes back to our previous episode. We talked about the dangers of AI.
Let's say if we like finally get into the last stage where we get to see ourselves like merging in with the AI, having like biochips and stuff.
You see, my dream, here's the thing, my dream, I didn't even tell you about this, but for 2 decades actually, I've been dreaming of having a digital assistant. And if you remember the movie Iron Man, it was released in 2008, I believe.
The first one was in 2008, yes.
Yeah, I was so fascinated by Jarvis. If you remember Jarvis,
Man,
the AI assistant.
Imagine if you have it like at home. And it just like helps you in everything. That's just beautiful.
For years, I've been waiting for something like Jarvis. And I remember when IBM released their IBM Watson. Well, I don't know if you know about IBM Watson, but IBM introduced Watson. And I tried to create something similar to Jarvis, but I failed. I was trying to play with the APIs with IBM Watson, and it did not work. But now, OpenAI released this ChatGPT, and it changed everything for me. It's a dream come true.
Wow.
What a time to be alive, man.
Exactly.
I use this thing every day, and I can tell you that I can't live without it anymore. It's that powerful now.
How accurate is it, like when it comes to interactive commands? Like when you want to talk to it, like let's say.
It can understand everything. It understands natural language. And natural language processing. It's just like having a conversation with a human. Although sometimes the verbosity might be too much. It might sound a little bit too robotic, but you can even dial it down. You can tell it whatever you want. You can say, for example, you can enter a prompt and say, I want you to talk to me like, let's say, I don't know, some celebrity and sound like him. It would even sound like a celebrity.
Okay.
Or dumb it down if you want.
Like let's say if you want to have like let's say a continuous chat with ChatGPT.
It will continuously chat with you all night long, and I've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
You, like it's flowable, like with no pauses and stuff and lags. And,
absolutely, it can keep going on and on and on. But here's the thing: I forgot to tell you this.
We've talked about what ChatGPT is, how it started, and even how I reacted to it when I first used it. But this next step takes it even further. Because now, you don't just talk to ChatGPT, you can show it what's right in front of you, and it can see and understand what you're seeing. Let me show you.
Today I want to test ChatGPT's new video mode. ChatGPT can analyze video and understand what's in front of it. So I'm going to ask it about this weird structure here. How can I use this to train? Let's go ahead and ask.
Hey, ChatGPT, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. How can I help you today?
All right, let's do this. I'm going to show you something, and I want you to explain to me what this is, because it kind of looks mysterious. Let's have a look.
Sure, I'd be happy to help.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Yes, I can see it. It looks like monkey bars, often part of a playground or fitness area. Are you at a park?
Yeah, I'm at a park, but I don't understand the way this thing is arranged. Look at the way it's arranged. It's not like your typical monkey bars. How do you even use this thing? Look at it. Look at the curvature. And look at the way the vertical bars are set.
It does look quite unique. The curved design and the vertical bars suggest it might be for more advanced climbing or swinging exercises. People might use it to build upper body strength or for parkour-style movements.
But how
Have
do you use
seen
this
anyone
thing?
using it?
Yeah, but how do you use this thing? Do you know how? So, for example, where am I supposed to hold it? Am I supposed to hold on here or there? Or what about these vertical bars?
Typically, you'd start by holding onto the horizontal bars at the beginning. You can then swing
You
from
mean
bar
here?
to bar.
Here, I should be holding on to this bar?
Yes, exactly. Start
Okay.
by gripping that bar firmly.
All right, if I
Then
grip that
you can-
bar, what do I do next? Is this supposed to be a horizontal thing like this? Like, am I supposed to move
Yeah.
like that? So suppose I'm holding on to this. Am I supposed to move like this? But that's not your typical monkey bar.
Exactly. You'd move one hand at a time, alternating as you progress. The unique design might offer a different kind of challenge compared to typical monkey bars. It's definitely more advanced, encouraging different grips and movements.
Right, and what about these vertical bars? What are these for?
The vertical bars might be for different grip options or for varying difficulty levels.
And what about these bars right here? I can't even reach these. These are very, very high. What about these bars? What are they for?
Those higher bars might be intended for taller users or for exercises that involve jumping or swinging to reach them. They can add an extra challenge for more advanced workouts. If they're too high, you can focus on the lower bars for now.
Okay, so let me get this straight. I start by gripping the bar right here and I move horizontally like this until I reach there. Are you sure that's it? I think there's more to this than meets the eye.
That's the basic idea, but you're right. There's likely more to it. This structure could be designed for various techniques or even for climbing. Exploring different ways to use it can be part of the fun.
All right, thanks, ChatGPT. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Enjoy exploring the park.
And there you have it, guys. I can't believe ChatGPT can now see things and understand what it's looking at, providing step-by-step instructions. And can you imagine if they put these things into robots?
And that brings us to the end of this incredible journey through the evolution of technology, from humble beginnings to groundbreaking innovations that shape the world we live in today. This wasn't just a timeline. This was a story about human ambition, about how each generation dares to dream bigger, solve harder problems, and leave its mark for the next. For me, creating this timeline was more than a project, it was a challenge. There were moments I wondered if I'd even finish it. The research, the details, the endless revisions. It was hard. Honestly, it felt impossible at times. But here we are, done. Because if technology teaches us anything, it's this. Progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone decides not to quit. Thank you for being part of this story with me. And remember, the next chapter of this timeline is being written right now by people like you. So keep building, keep dreaming, and keep moving humanity forward.